Yo, what's up YouTube? It's Darren, I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. This channel we focus on two things, two F's, fragrance, fashion. That's what we talk about. So if you're into fragrances and you're into fashion, man, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's free, they don't charge you anything, YouTube, for you to subscribe to the channel. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash the bell icon as well, so that way when I upload new content, YouTube will notify you that a video has been uploaded. So guys, on today I want to do a video. We have a lot of fragrance reviewers have done videos about rack store finds. If anybody's not familiar with what a rack store is, discounted stores like Burlington, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, sometimes even Ross, Nordstrom's rack, I think would probably fit into this category as well. So stores like that, stores that, you know, will sell fragrances for a heavily discounted price is what rack stores are. Now, over the course of my fragrance collecting journey, occasionally I hit the rack stores as well. Sometimes you find some nice fragrances in there that are worth picking up, and sometimes there's not really anything on the shelves. And I can say for the last year or so, especially since the pandemic hit and stock hasn't been, and freight and shipping has taken a hit because of the pandemic, there hasn't been as many good fragrances in the rack stores as you would be accustomed to finding. So over the past year and a half, that whole experience to me has been kind of taking a hit, because normally when I go in there now, there's nothing in there. I mean, you have your same 5 or 6 fragrances that you're typically accustomed to seeing, and that's about it. But what I decided to do with the video today is I decided to take a look at my collection, and over the course of the past 2 years or so, the best fragrance finds in the rack stores. These are the top 10 that I've found in the rack stores, and I want to share those with you today. So if you want to see what made the list of my top 10 rack store fragrance finds, then you know the routine. Keep it locked right here. All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's go ahead and jump into this list. Now, this first fragrance comes from the house of D Squared. Now, this fragrance actually was released previously in a whole different presentation, which I'll cover that in just a moment. But it was re-released in the year of 2018, and I found this in the rack stores. I think this one was in Marshalls, if I'm not mistaken. And this fragrance is called Wood for Him, pause, by D Squared. And I love the original fragrance when it first came out. Now, anything on this list is not anything groundbreaking, but again, when you're going into rack stores and you're finding fragrances for the most part for under 30 bucks, then it's really hard to say that it's not a good find. And I found this in like a gift set with a smaller bottle of this for like $29. And at that price point, this is a really good fragrance. It's not the best performer, anything groundbreaking. Again, that's not what this list is about, okay? So let's not look for that. But at the price point that I got this for, this is a really nice fragrance. Nice fruity citrus opening. It has some lime, bergamot, mandarin in this. Violet leaf is probably the main note in this, along with some ambroxan when it dries down. So again, a nice woody floral fragrance, if that's the genre of fragrance that you like. It's a very, very pleasant smelling fragrance. Now the performance kind of sucks, but again, who's complaining at $30? So if you ever see this one, I think this one is worth picking up at about $30 or less. So make sure you check out this one from the house of D Squared. This is called Wood for, well, you know what I'm saying. All right, guys, the next fragrance on this list, I think this was a Burlington store find right here. And let me go ahead and show you what it is from the house of Perry Ellis. This is 360 White. Now, this is from the 360 collection. And of course, there's other fragrances from the 360 line. A lot of people talk about 360 Red, which does remind me somewhat of Acqu Di Gio. There's a green, there's a blue. But to me, man, this is the best one. This is a beautiful fragrance find for about that $14 and $19 price point, and this is 100 ml in this bottle right here. And mainly what I get from this, you have a very prominent note of lime in the opening, and you're gonna get that lime for about 5 to 10 minutes. I love it. It's beautiful. This is an easy to wear fragrance, and when it dries down, you get some Lily of the Valley and Orris, so it gets a little bit powdery, and then it's sweet when it dries down. You have a nice clean white musk with some tonka bean and vanilla. Just one of those combinations that's really, really hard to beat, and especially for 19 bucks if you can find this one. I think this is a great buy. One of my favorite finds in the rack store, so make sure you check this one out from Perry Ellis. This is 360 White. All right, guys, now this next fragrance, let me tell you the lineup of perfumers that worked on this fragrance. Dominique Ropillon, Olivier Potion, and Filippo combined to do this fragrance. And listen, don't let the house fool you, man. Actually, this house does great designer fragrances at a great price. But let me show you real quick from the house of Burberry. This is Burberry Brit Rhythm. Burberry Brit Rhythm. This is a very well done designer fragrance, and this one is typically still found in the rack stores. It's a spicy fragrance, a little hint of florals and leather. That's really what you get with this scent right here. You got some verbena and basil, so you kind of get this green herbaceousness that comes from this fragrance. You get some cardamom in the opening as well that kind of helps contribute to that whole spicy masculine kick that you get with this fragrance. And as it dries down, of course, you get a nice leather accord. And this one, a little bit of styrax as well. So this is a very well done designer fragrance at, again, a very inexpensive price point. And I really enjoyed this one, man. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. Of course, these are typically blind buys when you go in these stores because you can't really smell the fragrance. You can't open them up. But man, listen, this is a very quality designer scent, especially at that price. So if you ever see this one, I think this one is worth picking up from the house of Burberry. This is Burberry Brit Rhythm. This is nice. Check it out. All right, guys, the next fragrance on this list, if I were putting these in order, which I haven't, I didn't put these in order, but if I put them in order, this would probably have been one or two, maybe number one. But anyway, this one comes from the house of Salvatore Ferragamo, Acqua Essenziale Blue. Acqua Essenziale Blue. This is one of my most treasured finds in the rack stores, man. I was so impressed with this fragrance when I picked it up. It was in like a gift set. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but I think it was under 24 bucks. 24 bucks or less, I don't quite remember. But I was so impressed with this fragrance. If you like Dylan Blue, if you like Bleu de Chanel, this is a great alternative to those scents. And again, of course, as you could expect at a rack store, a fraction of the cost. A fraction of the cost, so whether you can find this in a rack store or you can find it somewhere at a discounter online, guys, this is one that is definitely worth having in your fragrance collection, especially if you like those aforementioned fragrances. This is going to be something that you're going to really, really enjoy. I love this fragrance. Again, one of my favorite finds of all time in the rack stores. This stuff is so good, man. I love this fragrance right here from the house of Salvatore di Ferragamo. This is Acqua Essenziale Blue. All right, guys, the next fragrance on this list, this was a great find and a great buy. I think I got this one for 29 bucks, and it's definitely worth that to me. From the house of John Barbados, this is Artisan Blue. And simply put, this is a green spicy fragrance. It's classified as a citrus aromatics fragrance, but to me, it's really about those green elements. This is a really, really green fragrance. If you like green fragrances, you will really enjoy this scent. This is one of the better fragrance releases from John Barbados. And of course, if you guys have been collecting for a while or involved or around fragrances for a while, you know that most John Barbados fragrances don't really perform that great. Most of them smell great, but the performance is where they really lack. I can't say that this is a great improvement on performance, but again, if you're just talking about a well done green spicy fragrance for the price that you're going to pay, check this one out. Don't pass this one up. If you see this one in the rack stores, go ahead and grab it. Again, this is from the house of John Barbados, and this is called Artisan Blue. All right, the next fragrance on the list, this is a classic. And regardless of stock or shipping issues with fragrances now as it relates to rack stores, this is one that you'll probably find periodically in there because usually they kind of pop in and out. When you see it, if you don't have it, pick it up. From the house of Ed Hardy, this is called Love and Luck. Love and Luck. And it's a beautiful citrus fragrance, man. It has this aquatic vibe to it. It does remind me of fragrances like Millesime Imperial from Creed, as well as Sean John, the Sean John fragrance, Unforgivable. Very reminiscent of those two fragrances, which I think are a little bit more popular than this one. But again, for a rack store find, for around that $14, $19 price point. Really can't beat this scent right here. So if you see it in there, if you don't have it yet, make sure you pick it up. You won't be disappointed. From the house of Ed Hardy. Again, this is called Love and Luck. All right, guys, the next fragrance on this list, listen, I call this fragrance my Fruity Pebbles fragrance. It reminds me of Fruity Pebbles, and you'll understand why when I tell you some of the notes in this thing. But it's from the house of Sean John. Speaking of the aforementioned Sean John, this one is called I Am King. I Am King. Look, man, I can say this about Sean John fragrances. They're, for the price point, for what you're gonna pay, is nothing groundbreaking, but they're all really, really solid fragrances. If you look at his lineup of fragrances, most of them are very mass appealing, and you know, for the price point, they're very well done fragrances. I will say that, and I really enjoy I Am King. Very unique fruity notes in the opening of this, and that's why it reminds me of Fruity Pebbles. You have orange, you have cranberry, and tangerine. So again, not two notes, tangerine, cranberry, not two notes that are used a lot in fragrances, but it gives this really nice fruity accord in the opening of this. It's a woody aromatic, so when it dries down, you get some nice woods from cedar wood, sandalwood, and there's some oak moss in this as well. Again, very, very well done. It doesn't really perform that well. That's probably a theme with a lot of these fragrances on this list, with maybe the exception of 3 of these that kind of give some decent performance. So the performance is not great on this, but it smells fantastic. As far as rack stores go, one of my favorite pickups of all time from the house of Sean John. This is called I Am King. All right, guys, now the next fragrance on this list, this one comes from the house of Commodity, and this is called Bergamot. Simply called Bergamot. This is a nice, really nice, fresh, citrusy, kind of aquatic fragrance from the house of Commodity that was popping up in rack stores maybe two and a half years ago, maybe 3 years ago. The whole line was popping up in the rack stores. And what was happening was they were phasing these fragrances out. And recently here they have re-released the collection of Commodity fragrances. I'm going to be talking about that later on this week, how they've come out and re-released this whole line of fragrances, and they've done something very unique that I'll get into on that video. Well, again, bergamot, clementine, very unique citrus note there of clementine that you're going to get in this. A little bit of musk on the dry down. Again, nice bergamot based fragrance basically is what you're going to get here. But I will say, when you talk about from a quality perspective, these Commodity fragrances were very high quality, very well done fragrances. I must say that. If you like fragrances like Xerjoff Neo, not saying this is an exact clone, Bergamot 22, this is a great alternative to those kind of fragrances at this price point. Again, this one is hard to find now because they re-released the Commodity fragrances in a whole different presentation. Again, which I'll get into at another time on another video, but this was one of my best rack store finds from the house of Commodity. Again, this one is called Bergamot. All right, guys, if nothing for, well, I don't want to get into that yet. Hold on, I'll tell you why, but this was just an amazing find to me. I've never seen this fragrance in a rack store, and I found this one earlier this year. This is called Jean Paul Gaultier Cologne Tonic. I think that's what it's called. This is like one of the summer editions that they did, and I think this one was maybe from 2013. Just an amazing find. It smells just like the original Jean Paul Gaultier, except for it's like I would say it's like an eau de cologne concentration. So it's called Cologne Tonic. You still have the lavender on here, the mint, and tonka bean. The same notes that you get, like I said, from the original Jean Paul Gaultier La Mer, but this is just a lighter version or lighter presentation of it. And I found this in the rack stores. They had some of these like early this year. I know a few other people was able to find this. The bottle's beautiful, the presentation. And if you like the La Mer DNA, you'll like this. It's something light and cool to wear in the summertime, a summertime version of the original, if you will. But it was a great rack store pickup for me. So again, from the house of Jean Paul Gaultier, this is Le Mer, the Cologne Tonic, summer edition. I think this again was from 2013. All right, guys, and last but not least on this list, this fragrance comes from the house of Dolce & Gabbana, and this is Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Love is love. Love is love. Now, there are a lot of iterations of Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Just like La Mer, they do a summer rendition of this fragrance every year. An iteration of this fragrance comes out every summer. Now, there's Light Blue Sun as well as a lot of others. But this is one of my favorites, man. And I found this in the rack stores maybe It might have been earlier this year. I think this one maybe was the 2019 or 2020 summer edition of light blue. And listen, I really love that gelato note. A lot of people don't like it, but I like sweeter fragrances sometimes, and it was very, very unique. Now, the gelato note, if you guys don't know what it's like, it kind of gives off this vibe of like vanilla ice cream almost. And I know that may be hard to imagine, like mixing that with the aquatic, salty marine kind of thing that you usually get from Dolce & Gabbana light blue. But man, it really works for me in this scent. It just gives it this kind of creamy sweetness, vanillic sweetness. And I really enjoyed this rendition of Dolce & Gabbana light blue. Again, it definitely classifies as one of my top 10 rack store finds. So if you see this one, if you like, you know, style fragrances that I normally like or talk about, I think you'll enjoy this one, guys. So don't pass it up. If you see it in the stores from the house of Dolce & Gabbana, this is called Light Blue. Love is love. All right, guys, that's it. That's my time, man. I hope you enjoyed the video today as I gave you 10 fragrances in my collection that I found in rack stores. These are like some of my top 10 finds over the course of time that I've been collecting fragrances. As always, man, I appreciate your time and your attention to these videos. You guys don't have to watch, but you do. And honestly, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. Now, don't forget, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And also make sure to share these videos out to some other folks that you think could use this information, or they may find it entertaining, because I'm your guy, Darren, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.